This year has many amazing games coming our way, some that we might not even be aware as of yet, but as it stands, I've compiled a list of all the games that have piqued my interest so far, mainly for PC but also some for consoles, primarily PS4 as Xbox. I mean, let's be honest. It is rather a big list, so I've made up a top 10 of my most anticipated games, which I want to talk a little bit about, and then do a sort of rapid fire for a few others, which I think will be rather interesting as well. Even then, I might miss a few, so do let me know what games are you most looking forward to this year and even beyond. So before actually starting with number 10, there is Resident Evil 2, which would have made the list if it wasn't gonna be released in a week or so from now. So rather pointless to add there, but nevertheless, Resident Evil 2 is a remake of the old Resident Evil 2 for the PS1 from '98, where we must escape Raccoon City during a zombie outbreak. A classic in the series, which some might argue is the best Resident Evil of all time. Now, this isn't just a typical remastered game where some higher resolution and some graphical filters are slapped on it. It's a full-on remake with an entire new engine. So characters, story, locations are all the same, but you get to see it in 2019 full glory graphics, animations and all of that good stuff, albeit slightly more action-based than the original. Playing the demo on Steam just for 30 minutes, it showed a great promise. It feels scary with an amazing atmosphere, the gunplay and general gameplay feels great, and the gore is probably the most detailed and grotesque I've ever seen in a video game. Quite disturbing and juicy at times, and this is only on that very short demo. If you played Resident Evil 7, the gameplay here is practically identical, just in the classic third-person view, so a mix of Resident Evil 4 and 7. If you liked either, you will for sure like this one as well, and is yours to play in January 25th. Now, as for the actual number 10, we get Biomutant. Now, Biomutant is coming from a small studio called 101 Experiment under THQ Nordic, made by former founders of Avalanche Studios, which you might know from Just Cause franchise, Mad Max, the game, and the upcoming Rage 2. As for the game itself, it only takes a few screenshots and videos to see how beautiful and unique the game looks, not only on its graphics and artistic direction, but on the overall gameplay. It is an action role-playing game, if you haven't noticed, where you play as a raccoon-like creature, which you might figure out quickly where that idea came from. The combat will be melee-based, with some ranged weaponry, whilst having a whole arsenal of elemental-based affixes or upgrades for your weapons, bringing all sorts of cool effects. Its combat seems quite fast-paced, employing some ideas from the Arkham style of combat with little prompts when enemies attack, but as action RPG combat goes, it looks to be really impactful and fun. The progression system seems to be pretty traditional when it comes to RPGs, and gear can also grant all sorts of benefits and effects that you can use to your advantage against the world and enemies alike. Customization also seems extensive, from armor, weapons, and even being able to create your own badass raccoon with its character creation system. Yep, technology has reached this far. As for the world, it is indeed an open world with dynamic weather, day and night cycles, vehicles that you can use to explore it, and just do a variety of quests and be the main story or even side quests. There's even a karma system towards NPCs and companions that is based on the choices and actions that you make. If everything plays out right, there is a great potential here to turn this into an amazing action RPG. It is fairly ambitious for a studio of only 18 people, but what is available now shows a great promise, and in general it seems fun. It almost has that feel of a Ratchet and Clank or a Jak and Daxter from the PS2 era, and as such, I cannot wait to test it out somewhere in the summer of 2019. As for number 9, we have Anthem. Now, Anthem just seems like a bigger Destiny, and in general, coming from EA, I haven't held my breath for it. Essentially, if you have played a Destiny or even Warframe, you know where you're getting into, a loot-based third-person shooter slash RPG, although here we have these awesome looking suits or javelins. There is a class system, an open world of sorts to explore and do quests in, tons of customization, and an emphasis on co-op play, and some story with actual characters, as it's typical from Bioware, which is often brushed aside on these type of games. But in the end, I think there's two things that can either break or make this game, which is one, gameplay and content. It does look fun with plenty to do, but will it get boring quick like it was with Destiny? Only time will tell on that. And the second one is on EA. What type of microtransactions crap are we gonna get? Is it ever gonna get pay to win? All of that sort of questions are still up in the air, and as history has told us, whatever EA touches with its evil and naughty hands doesn't end well. Thankfully, there will be a demo soonish, so I'll make sure to give my thoughts on it as soon as possible, with the inevitable release on 22 of February. And next, Skull and Bones. Now, this game has been patiently awaited by many of us for years. Originally created following the huge success of Assassin's Creed Black Flag with its awesome naval warfare. This game then came about focusing solely on that, piracy and ship battles, but of course made online. Now, the game does look amazing on videos that have been out. Having your own ship that you can customize and make your own, fighting other people and explore the oceans is all something most of us find to be super fun. But sadly, every single game of this genre, Sea of Thieves, Atlas, among others, have not been hugely successful, to say the least. Will Skull and Bones break the curse? Well, we shall see. Following up, Doom Eternal. I don't think much is needed to say about this. Doom brought the old FPS roots back, and Doom Eternal just seems to continue exactly that. Just awesome fun, shooting, cutting, smashing demons in whatever gruesome way you wish, with of course an awesome soundtrack. Not to be called Doom, Hell on Earth is a small pet peeve of mine, but either way, it just seems to be the same Doom that we know with just more awesome toys. And that's all we need, to be honest, and an awesome soundtrack. We do need more of that, and the new Metalwire seems to be doing exactly that. Rage 2. The original Rage game didn't do much to impress. It had some pretty cool ideas, but in the end all came out flat. It was an enjoyable game, but just meh in a lot of ways. Now, Rage 2 seems to be spicing all of that up, drawing ever more inspiration from the Mad Max movie. And like the Doom game, it seems to be just a crazy fun game, but with an open world, crazy vehicles, gadgets, guns, and all other crazy and fun things to do and use. This title will either make or break the Rage franchise, so I hope it does succeed and maybe bring up the Bethesda name back up a little bit. Boy, does it need it. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, the new game from Software, the makers of Dark Souls and Bloodborne. Now, I'm a huge fan of the series. In fact, I made a video about them recently. Now, Sekiro is gonna be a very different game, and by different, I don't mean Souls to Bloodborne different, I mean overall different. For one, it's purely an action game, not an RPG. We don't create our character, there's no classes. The classic gearing system is gone, hell, there's not even an online option. We play as a pre-made character, a katana-wielding shinobi with a prosthetic arm. And that arm is where most of our progression is gonna lie, along with our main weapon, the katana. From there on out, the game is far more fast-paced. The running, the jumping, grappling, and even stealth are all far different from what you know of a Soulsborne game. That said, it is staying with the challenging combat label. However, the combat is entirely different as well, no longer being based on stamina, it's now based on poise and balance. A fairly unique system, and one I must really play to understand, because honestly I haven't yet really. Being in the name, Shadows Die Twice, you also have the ability to resurrect yourself when you die, although with some caveats. So overall, it seems like a great game, different from the others that we know. And yes, be aware it is a very different game, but the challenge, it seems to be staying the unique setting and world, which seems to be twice as open as its predecessors. All of this, and even the overall mechanics, seem highly intriguing and fun to explore in this new title. And as a side note, From Software are working on 2 other titles. It's possible that one of those is going to be a sequel to Bloodborne, or even a Souls-like game, maybe Dark Souls 4 or maybe something else. Who knows? Devil May Cry 5. The last Devil May Cry, or rather DMC, didn't went well with the hardcore fans. The emo protagonist didn't help and probably was the biggest gripe. Personally, and don't kill me for this, I liked the last DMC. I prefer the original ones, well yeah, but DMC wasn't a bad game at all. Now, Devil May Cry 5 is returning to its roots. All the original characters, cheesiness and soundtrack, and even its stylish gameplay are all back, although DMC did have the stylish gameplay. The only thing I'm dreading is those microtransactions in a single player game. So let's hope that on the 8th of March we won't be disappointed. Yes, Capcom, I'm looking at you. Atomic Heart. Now this game is if you take Metro, Bioshock and Fallout games and placed it in a weird and twisted Soviet era. It's bizarre, it's unique in its overall design, characters, world, enemies, I mean just what the hell is that? And it's a first-person action RPG, which I do love. Having those three games in mind, needless to say, is gonna mix all of their mechanics and features whilst having its unique take on some, such as a PvP option. Weapons look fun and wacky, the world in general looks highly immersive and again intriguing. Honestly, been keeping away a lot from it, so like trailers and other info like that, as I want to be surprised by the world. And it is a fully indie game title, even though it's easily passable as a AAA game. And if you're like me looking for a Bioshock fix for years now, this might be the one. The only sad news is the game does seem to be going on those shitty early access in 2019 and maybe in 2020 it will have the actual release. So let's just hope it's not another Atlas. Number 2, we get Metro Exodus. Now Metro I like to compare to the Witcher series, and what I mean by that is that Metro started off a little bit junky, right? A small studio, the game had some faults and wasn't super polished. I mean, it was full of bugs, the performance was horrible, but received a lot of praise in other areas, like The Witcher 1. Metro Last Light then improved on all of its faults and just made an amazing game overall, The Witcher 2. And now with Exodus, it's just taking that concept and ideals to just make it bigger and better, like The Witcher 3. With a more open world on the outside and not just on the ground, with a more sandbox feel, but you're still gonna have those linear levels, in-depth crafting system, even seasons with its unique weather system that changed the world dynamically, and so much more. And God, I really hope it pays out in the same way that the Witcher series did with The Witcher 3, because Metro really deserves all the success it can get. And number 1, The Other Worlds. Now, The Other Worlds came out of nowhere at the Game Awards show, a big slap in the face to Bethesda in saying this is how a Fallout game is made. Not to say it is a Fallout copy, but it does look a lot like a mix of Fallout and Borderlands, but in space. A traditional RPG experience like the older Fallout games, but with a lot of silliness and fun, like Borderlands, but in space. Did I say that already? I think for anyone fan of RPGs, this game is on their radars, and I really hope it's good because Obsidian has a track record of either making amazing games or not so amazing games, and I hope this one is the former. I haven't seen much information about this because like Atomic Heart, I want to be surprised by it. It doesn't have a release date yet, but if I had to guess, somewhere around October would be the best bet. So yeah, that makes up the top 10, or rather 11ish with Resident Evil, and you might wonder where are games like, say, Cyberpunk. Well, Cyberpunk is still TBA, so it could be 2019, 2020, 2021. I'm leaning more towards 2020. Either way, obviously, I cannot wait to get into that world, and this list was not in order, but if it was, obviously Cyberpunk would be number 1, even ahead of Other Worlds. But just not many information about it as of yet. Others that fall on this category is The Last of Us Part 2, Death Stranding, Ghost of Tsushima, Starfield, Elder Scrolls 6, Age of Empires 4, yep, that's still a thing, Dying Light 2, Beyond Good and Evil 2, and the Avengers Project, which is some rumored game about, well, the Avengers. Now there's other games I'm curious about in 2019, so let's just do a rapid fire or honorable mention of those. So here we go. Witchfire, this weird yet amazing looking dark fantasy game which is an FPS which kinda looks like a Witcher. Is it gonna be good? No clue, but looks amazing. Bright Memory, which I might make a video about, which is a game which also looks amazing and is just made by one single guy. Kingdom Hearts 3, Far Cry New Dawn, DLC, but whatever. Jump Force, The Division 2, God Eater 3, Crackdown 3, Left Alive, which seems to be very reminiscent of Metal Gear Solid, The Sinking City, Mortal Kombat 11, Days Gone, WoW Classic, Warcraft 3, Gears 5, In the Valley of Gods, Ancestors, The Humankind Odyssey, Nioh 2, Warhammer Chaos Bane, Code Vein, Greedfall, The Surge 2, and Torchlight Frontiers, in the same vein as Path of Exile, a free-to-play game, but in the Torchlight world. So yeah, a lot of games coming to completely empty our wallets. Anyway guys, do let me know what games are you looking the most forward to in 2019 down in the comments. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you wish to see me talking about most, if not all, the games in the above list. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all again soon.